Friday, man. That's just bad.
And we're live.
There it is.
I don't really have a choice, otherwise I wouldn't be.
There you go.
Anyway, we're a little bit, well, we're not actually that early today. I need to duck off to the dentist, unfortunately. So we'll be a little bit brief here today, but it's Friday, Jeff.
It's Friday.
In the interior still, in the awesome background, making us all jealous.
Yeah.
Just living that best life.
Cannot complain about that. But yeah, frequently asked questions Friday. And my first question that I want to ask is, why would you go to the dentist on a Friday? But then I thought the dentist should be reserved for like Mondays. But then Monday you often say is your favorite day of the week. So I guess not to imply that Friday is your least favorite day of the week, but man, that's a Wednesday or Tuesday job then at least.
But if I could, I would.
All right.
Anyway,
fair enough. So anyway, in light of your time constraint here, yeah, sure, yeah, there you go. You'll be talking like this for the rest of the day. All right, cool. So had some good chats this week. A couple of good questions that came up. A couple of questions that are asked often. So I figured we would start with those. And the first question is, well, like everybody wants to know, how do I get a higher multiple? How do I get a higher multiple? And, you know, firstly, go back into the units and talk and check out the one called Value Boosters. And we cover lots of really what people want to see. But I just want to jump on this for a second. And I wrote about this on LinkedIn today too, because multiple, it's just like people are getting hung up on the wrong thing. Yes, multiple is important, and sometimes that's all you can really see or all you can really know. So that's the number that people really hang on. But multiple is just a result of a deal. It's not really anything to achieve. I don't think, because when you have an e-commerce business or any kind of inventory-based business, there's lots of layers, like it's deep. There's lots of moving parts. There's lots of things to negotiate on. And so a multiple doesn't tell the whole story. If somebody was just like, you're selling this thing and somebody writes a check for it, it's like, okay, that's fine. But when you've got a pretty deep business, like I said, with lots of moving parts and lots of different areas for negotiation, a multiple doesn't even really scratch the surface really of what it's all about. So don't get hung up on the wrong number. Like everybody can talk about, oh, this guy got this multiple for his business last year. No, I think my business is worth at least 4x, whatever. And it's like, all right, you might get 4x, but you might only get 25% of the cash at close, and the rest is tied up in deal structure over the next 3 years, and you need to spend the next 12 months working in the business. Does that sound like a good deal? Oh, but yeah, okay, you can turn around and say you got 4x for your business, but it doesn't really mean you got a good deal. So yes. I'm sure a person in that shitty scenario would have taken more cash up front and less of a multiple. And so the optics of that might change on the outset if you're just saying, oh, well, I only got 3.5, but I got a better deal than somebody who got 4x and has to stay in the business for 12 months and has most 75% of the money paid out over 3 years. So
exactly.
I think, you know, things like that where I really try to steer conversations now away from multiple and start to think about the entire value of the deal and what it means to you, because the right buyer, or I wouldn't even call him a buyer, the right partner is of significant importance. Because, you know, perhaps you want to take less money from a buyer who wants to share some of that upside with you and bring significant resources and leverage to the table. That might change things. So it's like, I guess the point is like, don't get so hung up on multiple until you start receiving offers. Then the multiple starts to tick down on the priority list a little bit. Once you start seeing who the buyers are, what they have to bring, and what they're offering. It's not just who can write the biggest check and I can walk away. If it was that, it's just not that simple when you're talking e-commerce and inventory-based businesses. So just consider that multiple doesn't tell the whole story. How to get a higher one? Well, I mean, we've covered that in a whole bunch of units. I don't know how deep we want to get into it today, but
yeah,
how do you get a higher multiple? It's like, don't define yourself to like one channel. Like we're the FBA broker for now. Anyway, but FBA businesses are defined by being FBA. They're fulfilled by Amazon businesses. If that's what your business is 100%, then there's a limit to what somebody's going to pay for that. So increase your multiple, get off of Amazon, diversify your sales channels, spread the risk out, work towards an exit rather than wake up one morning and say, I want to know what my business is worth. And if it's worth this much money, I'll sell it. Work towards an exit plan. Work with somebody,
Yes.
People often talk about consulting a broker. They're like automatically commits them to selling or whatever. And we were talking this week about, what does a broker have? He's got perspective. It's awesome. Consult with a broker as early as possible. Maybe not to sell, but to think about the steps you need to take to get the maximum outcome. I don't know if we really want to say much more about how to get a higher multiple, but other than like, call me and we could talk about it.
Exactly.
Or go back and look at some of the units that we've done before on value boosters. But I don't know if you want to add to that, Corin, about specifics about.
Yeah, I think that was a really good point that you brought up. A lot of the deals we get done, especially the larger deals, 7-8 figure deals that we're doing, the highest multiple, I guess you'd call it, the largest offer is rarely the offer we go with. And there's a number of reasons for that. It all comes down to deal structure and who's making that offer. We've seen some really big offers on the table for single channel businesses like an FBA business that just didn't pass the filter. Like, it wasn't what our client wanted. We didn't feel they were the best party. We've always got competition. So you're looking at more than just the highest number. And you're right, it's like a revenue metric. It's a vanity metric, a multiple. What you really want to be doing is checking. You really go through our three stages of selling a business. One is, are you mentally ready to sell? Two is, will the market likely pay a number that you're happy with, right? So that could be broken down into, what do I need at close to feel comfortable with, and what would I let ride? Because a lot of the deals, the larger deals especially, there's some piece that you're not getting 100% cash at close necessarily, especially when you're trying to outpace the market and get a higher multiple. It's usually made up somewhat of deal structure. So there's something at risk. So you want to make sure it's the right partner. And then the third thing is the business ready to sell, to even get that deal completed, which we talked about at length as well. So I'm with you. It's the multiple is really more a result of the deal and not the only thing that you should think about.
If you want more cash at close, you will probably have to settle for a lower multiple. If you are happy with sharing some of the risk and some of the upside too, depending on the partner, and take less cash at close and willing to put a little bit more of that money to work over time, then you can probably command a higher multiple. But that just goes back to what I was saying. If multiple isn't really the number, it's the best deal total package for you. The multiple ends up being whatever it is. But if that's the right deal for you, then it doesn't really matter. So anyway, maybe we can
exactly.
maybe we could just put a punctuation point on that and say, let's move on. Another question was, how does potential factor in? And again, we've talked about this at length in previous units. How does it factor in? Really depends on who the buyer is and what their plans are, but it also depends on how much you're willing to gamble on that. If you come to the table talking about how much potential your business has and how it's going to do X, Y, and Z in the future, the buyer kind of has every right to come along and say, well, prove it. You can't prove it, so I'll pay you if you achieve those in the future. Like if the business continues and achieves the numbers you say it will, then I'll pay you the rest of this money. So like that's where deal structure comes in, right? I'll pay you this agreed upon amount today. which might be a less than what you're happy with, and tie the rest of it based on performance in the future. If you're that confident in your business, and moreover confident in the buyer, because they're actually going to have to do that work, and if you're confident that the business is going to do it with you in place, are you confident the business is going to do that without you? And if you are, then maybe you're comfortable with a deal structure like that. Yeah. Most people that I talk to, when I describe it like that, they say, well, that doesn't sound very good. Exactly, because like you often say, no matter how secured anything is, if it's not cash at close, it's at risk on some level. So how is potential viewed? It's viewed as a risk, and a buyer will push back and try to place that risk on you, and they're happy to pay you if your business does what you say it will do in the future. But if it doesn't, then all you have is that money that you got at close. And you need to decide for yourself, are you happy with that and take on that risk? And again, it depends on who the buyer is. Again, they might come to the table with significant resources and significant leverage that might give you that confidence that they will achieve it. And great. But if you're not, then you sort of need to decide for yourself how much risk you're willing to accept. So
it also depends on the trend of the business. So if it's a complete new opportunity, like a lot of people say, oh, I've not gone into Europe yet, that's a massive opportunity. Well, maybe. We don't know. We don't know, right? Unless someone's already reselling your products there and you're going to knock them off and replace them, and you can see how much volume they're doing, that's an opportunity. But when we're talking about potential, it's the distance between it becoming reality. So a client right now has this massive international distribution deal that's just come in. They've paid their first for the first order. It's a massive 7-figure deal, and that's going to be monthly. So if as we're closing this deal, if the second month payment comes in during that time frame, there's more confidence in that. But right now, there's one payment, but there's not the next one. So we don't know if that's going to be the future, but there's momentum. So it's exciting. So we have managed to work in some of that upside, effectively working a multiple based on what they've earned already, based on what's happened. And then for the future, it's a shared scenario. In that case, it's rolled equity, and they're a strategic. So our clients are very happy to do that deal. Other scenarios might be, say you've figured out a profitable sales channel, sales funnel, let's say, on your website, and you've been doing this for 3 months, and you can show consistent D2C metrics, and there's reason to believe that that's going to continue. Things that you can control and have track record in, but it might not be a full 12 months. There's more confidence in that than, oh, you could go build a website. Like anyone could build a website, whether it's going to work or not, it's another thing, right? So I think the distance between the potential you're talking about and proof elements along the way, the only way to get paid the maximum is to actually do it. The other way is to find
and show that it keeps happening.
Yeah, exactly. And repetition as well, reordering and things like it. Similar with retail. So if there's a massive retail order, that's cool, but have they reordered? Are they ordering more? Is it selling through?
Like you've always said, one is none.
Yes.
Right. One doesn't prove anything. That's why I always laugh when I see a poster that says first annual blah blah blah, and it's like, how do you know it's annual if it's the first one? You know what I mean? It's like there's no proof for that, right? There's only one. So there's no proof that it's going to recur. But once you get the second one, and maybe even the third one, now we're in business. There's exactly. The confidence goes up with each check that's written, right, or each order that's placed, or whatever.
For sure. So the short version is either prove potential or share potential. There's no real other way to do it, unfortunately, unless you're Mirror and you're selling to Lululemon, which we talked about last week. But we'd happily do a deal like that.
I think in that case, Chip Wilson was just like, that's something I want, and I want to buy it before anybody else has a chance to buy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what I could do with it doesn't matter what they could do with it. It's what I can do with it, right? But I mean, that's a whole different ball game, a whole different league. That's just okay. So Well, we still have a few more minutes here. A couple of good questions that have not been asked that often of us, but are good to cover. And okay, so somebody goes to market and they're live and they're fielding offers and buyers are coming in and we've got some competing offers and LOIs to look at, but they don't get the offers that they are looking for. Either the deal terms are not what they need, or the cash at close isn't quite there that to make them feel comfortable, or they're just not high enough for whatever reason. Like what happens in those situations where, like I guess we can talk about this two things: our process and what we typically see with brokers that sort of develop listings and they can kind of stay there because we see it, we see the data, right? We see these every time we put together a listing pack for somebody, every time we look at for Market Watch Monday, we see some of these businesses that have been on the market for years.
Yeah.
So
exactly. So I guess the global sell-through rate's about 20% in our industry, or between 20 to 25. It hovers, which actually mirrors small business sales in general. Brick and mortar business sales are the same. Only about 20% odd will sell through. So the sell-through rate actually of selling a business is very low. So if we talk about our process, the way we manage our deal flow and how we promote and push a deal or launch a deal into the market, within a very short period of time, we'll see offers, multiple offers, competing offers. We'll have a lot of conversations in just 3 weeks, the way we run our process. The one thing we can't control is what those offers are going to be. So we don't use a list price, which opens us up to low offers. It opens us up to offers where we think they should be, and it also opens up to offers larger or higher than we think they should be. However, the goals of our client come first, and the deal structure and who's making the offer are very important, like we talked about at the top about multiple. So that doesn't always line up. And sometimes our clients have something happen during the process where they're like, no, we have this huge opportunity, we want to pause, right? So the only thing we can do is generate demand and present those offers and help negotiate the best terms possible. Whether they're the deals that you want to take as a seller going to market and selling is completely up to you, right? But we can say, the one thing that we know for a fact is that when we run our process all the way through, we will find multiple offers. We'll see where the market sees value, including strategics. We do a lot of outreach on strategics. We're prepping a launch right now, and that's part of our team is just doing that. That's Julie, who you met last week. She's just building that buyer list right now. She's who would be a perfect fit for this. Let's get them primed, ready for that deal, so that when we launch, we've got people that want the deal immediately. And that's how we run a process. We promote the deal. So you will see what the offers are, what they are, and if they're what you want to accept is really up to you. But that's the part that we do, and then negotiate the best terms we can out of what comes in.
Cool. All right. One more question here, and this might be a bit, there's many layers to this question, so we can talk about it in sections, but a common question that most brokers probably get at some point, sometimes, is what is your success rate? And it's an interesting question when you think about it, because if you are an e-commerce business owner, the success rate of what are you asking? The success rate of actually selling businesses, or the success rate of getting offers? And if those business owners don't take those offers, like we just talked about, or their offers aren't where they want them to be, it's like, it's what are you really asking? So 100% of the time we are going to get competing offers, but not 100% of the time those offers are going to be where the seller wants them to be. So and for many different reasons, like you said, it could be a positive thing. Something's happened where they're changing things, they want to pause, they want to see something play out, whatever. There could be lots of reasons for that. So Yeah, like when you ask somebody what is their success rate, when we went to sell our website, just to give you an example, we sold an affiliate website last year. That did go out with a list price. And the question was, what is your success rate? And the answer was something like 95% of the time, but it was like 95% of what? So the answer was, we have a list price for your business, and 95% of the time we sell the business within 5% of that. I mean, so it was like, all right, so they come within 5% of the, okay, but that was for like one thing. That was 100% cash at close. Like that's that type of business. And this, when you're talking like inventory based, like we talked about at the beginning, lots of moving parts, lots of different negotiating things, lots of deal terms, lots of things go in to make up a deal that might not sit well with the seller. So the offers are coming in, but whether the seller wants to sell is still within their control. They're not contractually obligated to offload it for whatever. You know, they'll sell for a range that they're comfortable with, but not at any cost.
Right.
So just because the range came in, but if they have to stay in the business for 12 months and that's not appealing to them, well, then that deal's off. It's no longer a good deal anymore. So there are things that we can control, and then there's things that we can't control. We're not contractually obligating the seller to just sell for the highest price, or just to sell in a 6-month period, or just to sell for whatever. So we can guarantee 100% of the time that offers will come in. We cannot guarantee 100% of the time that you're going to be happy and want to take them. So I don't know if that's articulating it well enough. So if you can add on to that.
The way I look at this is it's a partnership, right? So we work with clients and we take their concerns and their goals very seriously. So we do everything we can to give them perspective and give them as many offers as they can see at that moment in time. But markets shift, businesses change, right? Unless we're actually making that offer, we can't guarantee that it's going to close either, or that we're going to like those offers. But what we can do is stack the deck in your favor, show you what's out there, what's available, not give you a fluffed up list price, but actually give you hard offers from people that can sign the check and close the deal. So that's what we do, and then we shepherd you through that process. So it's a different process. It's a partnership. A lot of the clients that this year, specifically due to COVID situations, feedback from buyers, lower offers than they were expecting, all of those clients, if they've paused right now, we have a plan to come back at a specific time in the future, and we'll be doing that. So that's what we actually do. We say, okay, well, our goal is to get you the best result as our client, not just to get a deal done so we get paid. That's how we've set the business up from the beginning, and that's what we deliver on. So if they come back in 2 years' time, great, let's go back again. Let's rebuild the list. Let's look at everything again. They know what to focus on because the feedback from the buyers is generally super helpful. And they're sharp people, especially these 8-figure buyers, right? They have different insight that you might not have. So I think it's super valuable. We want to sell, absolutely. And that's why we do that second step is, where's the market likely to pay? And then once we're actually live and out there, we'll know, right? And ideally, we will get the right deal, the right terms, and we'll get the deal closed. But in some cases, it's not the best outcome for you. Yeah. And we don't push you to sell because we have that offer on the table, and we don't ask you to pay us if you don't take that offer either, which I know some people do. So that's not part of the process. We want you to get your best outcome possible, and we stand behind that 100% of the time.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, if we just had, here's the price, here's the list price, here's our target, that's what we're shooting for, and if we miss it, well, then that's unsuccessful. But we're not shooting for a target, we're shooting for the best deal for you, whatever that entails. And like we had a client recently who decided that through the process, he said, you know what, I actually kind of want to grow it. And I want to actually become an acquirer rather than a seller. So he totally shifted gears midway through. Once he started seeing offers, it was like, you know what I can do with the revenue that I already have, is acquire businesses and make myself a bigger business. And I think that's the route I'm going to go. That doesn't make that whole deal with that client unsuccessful, because he's still a client. And hopefully in 2 years, he's going to have a bigger business and a more successful business. And, you know, that's a win all around. So that's, yeah, I mean, those kind of things happen. And I think that that's great. I think he's on a better path.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
And that's the position I always want us to be in, is to be able to find the best outcome for the client. Yeah. So, it is a bit of a strange question to answer, or maybe a different response than most people would expect. But that's the reality of deal making.
Because it is. It's a deal.
Right?
We're making deals. This is not just selling cars. And how many cars did you sell this month? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't quite work that way. And I think that, you know, like, you know, Peter put it really, really well the other day with our call, is like, you know, we help prime businesses for sale. We help optimize businesses for sale. But in the process of doing that, the sum of all those parts is a better business. And so sometimes people just need those tweaks, and then they see a better business and say, well, I don't want to sell anymore. I kind of want to keep it now. Hey man, that's okay too. Job, you know, job well done. Fantastic.
Yeah, we've had a client before actually go through the process, and through pitching his business to investors, turned around and sold himself on the future of the business. Said, you know what, I'm going to go do that. And that one was a little tough, because we actually got exactly what he wanted. But we stood by our goal. Like, it's the best thing for the client first, us second. So that's what we did. Yeah.
We optimize businesses for sale. We optimize businesses. Correct. The for sale part is still up to you.
Correct.
That's So cool. Anyway, we should let you get to the dentist.
Do you want to go instead?
Yeah, no.
That's a hard pass.
Done my share.
Yeah, exactly.
Share. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. All right, dude. Well, thanks for jumping on. These are some good questions here. We have a ton more, by the way, and you can always drop your questions in the chat box while we're doing these as well. But thanks everyone for watching. Have a great weekend ahead, and we'll see you next week.
Bye for now.